All right, everyone. Thanks for coming today. If you haven't met me yet, I am Doc Justice. I am the founder of Halter Technical. Today we're going to jump into WildTrax, and we're going to get deep in the weeds. We'll set up a session from scratch, take you from the beginning all the way through it. If at any point you have any questions, jump right in. You can raise a hand, you can just shout out. I don't really care. This is better if it's not just me talking. So ask questions. You can follow along on your computer if you'd like. Not required. So let's talk about it. WildTrax, if you aren't familiar, it is a multi-track audio recording platform for macOS and its ecosystem. It has the ability to record up to 512 tracks of audio across a number of files only limited by your machine. So however powerful your machine is and however much memory it can handle, you can write as many files as possible. So I'll talk about what we've got here on the table. I was fortunate enough that Andy Yip of Audio Strategies donated some equipment for us to use today. So he built us a little package here with a Dante connected speaker, some Electro SRCs in a audio limited A10 rack. Basically that just puts all these SRCs into Dante. And gave us a bunch of electro transmitters. We also have the Yamaha DM3 console. It's the DM3D technically, since it has Dante in it. And that's what we're going to use. We're going to use Dante to get into the computer, but you can use any interface that can ingest audio into a computer. So if you have a USB connected console, you can use a USB audio interface. You can use MADI, Dante, any form of AES, AVB, anything that can connect to core audio. WildTrax can record that audio. So why use WildTrax over anything else like Pro Tools or any other DAW? WildTrax makes it easy and convenient to sync all of your audio together with timecode and with metadata. And as you all know, in production, metadata is king. We need to label every scene, every take, every track so that post can easily identify the audio and know what they're working with and where to find the audio that they need. We have a whole bunch of tools within WildTrax that add even more metadata than Post is used to. You can really hone in your information for them and use it as your calling card, basically. So what I'm going to do is I have started a new WildTrax project here. Actually, let's do it from the very beginning. If I go to new project, and let's create on my desktop my WildTrax sessions. We're going to create a brand new project and start from scratch. So we'll call this 695 seminar. How about that? It's going to close it up, reopen as a fresh new session. Here we are. I should mention that prior to starting, I did set up the Dante controller, although now it looks like I lost my connections from... There we go. Looks like I lost my connections in setting up the new project. So what I am going to do is reassign my Dante. Is that not connecting now? Why are we not connecting? We should be in. But it doesn't appear that we are. Fun with Dante. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cheat and go back to the previous project and see if that is a quick solution. If it is, great. If not, we'll build it. No. Okay. Going back to the new one. Live demos, man. And we'll see about just refreshing this. Look at that. All it took was a refresh. All right. So Dante is hopefully routed correctly. I guess we'll find out, won't we? But we have here a blank WildTrax session. When you load up a new session, you will see 3 panels, and we call each of these windows its own panel. WildTrax works off of a panel system so that you can rearrange or view or hide any panels that you need or don't need and make it your own. So the 3 panels that it shows up right away are our input matrix, our files, and our tracks panel. Before I even get to those, I want to go straight to the preferences. As a computer geek, I have always, whenever I get a new device, I always go straight to the preferences and settings and turn off the things I don't want. But in WildTrax, this is where you will set all of your input devices, your timecode sources. You'll manage your account and any connected devices too. So I'm going to go straight to device, and you will see your input devices in a list. Since I have Dante Network running, I have Dante Virtual Sound Card installed on the computer. That's going to be my input and output device. You can use your internal devices. You can even create aggregate devices if you wanted to join your Dante Network and, let's say, another USB device together. You can do that and select the aggregate device here. We're just going to select our Dante Virtual Sound Card for our input and our output. The sample rate needs to match your devices. Remember that across the board. Your sample rate across devices always needs to match. There is sample rate conversion available in certain devices. Best practices is always match it. And your buffer is going to be determined by the power of your machine. I recommend leave it at the default 256 until there's any issues. So that's what we're going to do. Our devices are set up. So we're set here. Now, in the tracks panel, I want to set how many tracks we're going to use. Since the Yamaha DM3 is a 16-channel board, I'm just going to go ahead and set this to 16 tracks. And we go from the default 8 tracks to 16. This is also where, just for shits and giggles, if I wanted to make that 160 tracks, That's also where you do that. And now we have a lot more. And again, it'll go up to 512. But let's go back to 16 because that's a human number. And as you see, when I changed the number of tracks, the input matrix also was changing there. Only tracks 1 through 8 are patched because we had 8 tracks by default, so we have to route the rest of them. Now, in our rack here, I have 8 channels of wireless, so I'm going to basically consider for this demo that we're going to be using 8 tracks. I'm going to use the other tracks for sound effects and playback and stuff. So, who's calling me? Spam? Get out of here. So I'm going to patch those in. I'm still just going to patch in the input matrix. I'll patch them to the inputs for right now, and then we'll change that as we need. Now you can go ahead and click one by one in here. A handy little trick is if you hold the option button, you can see it brings up the diagonal. And now with one click, I've patched everything. Handy little trick there. So we've got our inputs patched. Let's make sure that those inputs are routed correctly. I'm going to send tone from the receivers. Tone. Look at that. There's tone there. Tone on 3 and 4. Five and 6 and 7 and 8. I love it when a plan comes together. Okay, so we have tone going to our tracks. We know that those tracks are routed correctly. So now that we've got our Dante controller set, our WildTrax device set, our input routing set, we want to set how our output, our exporting files. So here in the files panel in the top right, this is where we'll determine where our files get written to, what tracks get assigned to each of those files. This is where we'll choose our bit depth and how we'll name all the files too. So by default, it writes to one folder. It defaults to your music folder on your in your user page, but we can go ahead and change that. In the toolbar here, we have the folder button, Add Export Folder. When you click that, we're going to make, I have 3 folders here, a poly, a mono, and an MP3, just for the demo. So we're going to put everything in this poly folder. I believe I'm going to add the mono folder, and I'm going to add the MP3 folder. When I add those, now in this drop-down menu, now I have the option of choosing where those go. So we're going to put this file in the poly folder. I'm going to record at 24-bit files. It will do 16 or 24-bit integer or 32-bit float. Your choice. So let's add in another folder to another file too. So let's do a second file. And this file, we're going to record these as monophonic. And I'll put these in the mono folder. And one more file. And this one is going to be our MP3. Oops, excuse me. So my file type here, I'm going to go to MP3. Now when I go to MP3, is it not letting me because it's all the tracks? So stereo. Hello. Let's do that. Unselect. Go to stereo. Go to MP3. And I'm just going to make these. Let's just do the last two tracks. MP3 is only a 2-track stereo file. And we're going to put those in the MP3 folder. So now I'm recording all these onto the internal drive of this MacBook, but you can send it to SD cards, an SSD drive. You can set it to, say, a cloud service, like set it to a Google Cloud or a Dropbox folder and just have Post get those files as soon as you press stop. As soon as they're done writing, they can be uploaded to a cloud. So any device, any number of devices, any number of destinations, your choice there. Yeah.
Have you experimented recording to network drives or like to servers like on an internal network?
I can say I have done that at home.
Yeah.
And I have not had any issues. I've only done up to, I think, about 64 tracks for test sessions, but I recorded to my home network.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going out
That's
directly
cool.
to the cloud, but it worked just fine.
Yeah, the only consideration I would say is write speeds over it. Otherwise, it would function just as any other external device.
Sure.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so we've got our files set up. We've got our tracks assigned to them. Now, I just came across a situation where there's a reality show shooting in the Dominican right now where I think they're using 64 tracks, but Post is editing in Premiere, and Premiere only likes 32 tracks at most. So they split up into two files, into two poly files with 32 tracks each, so that Post can handle them without using professional software. You could also have it so, like, you know, if somebody is more important in the cast than others, you could have just ISOs of just that cast member. If you have the host of a show and they, you know, you want that to go out separately, or if you're creating a scratch track for somebody, you have your pick of the litter when it comes to how you assign your files. But we've got our files assigned. So let me recap again. We routed everything. Our input routing is set. Our files are set. Oh, the naming. So the naming of these files, WildTrax uses what we call tokens. This button here, the ABC button, expand tokens. If I click that, then you'll see these are actually tokens set. The manual has a list of the tokens that you can use in there. And when you go back to the ABC, that is showing how it will be written. So the token, the project, the scene, the take, the role is all going to be set in the metadata. So your file name will follow how your metadata is written. So we're done with the input matrix panel. Let me go to that metadata panel. And in the metadata panel, you'll see you've got your current metadata, which is the take you are either recording at the moment if you are in record mode, or the take that you are working on to put into record. and the next is the one after that. So I guess the terminology can be a little bit confusing if you're not in record mode, like we're not recording yet, so the next take is the current take and the one after that is next. But this is the current take you're working on and the one after that. So we have our project name, which would typically be the name of your show, name of your movie, whatever your production is. We're going to call this one Seminar. You'll see as I change the project name, the title up here changes as well. And if we go back in our Files panel, you'll see that the name of the file changed along with it. We're starting with scene 1. Slate is 1, take 1, roll 1. Some of this is more European. Yeah.
How did you access the metadata panel?
So, good question. I should have specified. This little button in the top left of every panel looks like a bunch of squares. That is our panel switcher. That's our panel management. In every panel, if you click that button, you'll see a list of all of the panels. And you can choose any panel to come up in that view. So I went to metadata over here. I could also have the tracks panel here. And we'll go through all of the panels as we get there, but that's a good point. The panel switcher is arguably the most important button next to record in WildTrax. And to simplify things even more, every panel has the panel switcher button at the top, the toolbar right below it, and then all of the information in the panel below that toolbar. So the idea is that all of the buttons that you need, all of the settings that you need are accessible within the toolbar itself where you're working, in your current workspace, so you don't have to go dig for it in menus and preferences and all of that. Okay, we set our project name. We're ready for scene 1, take 1. I'll talk a little bit about these buttons here next to slate, take, that what I said? Yeah, slate, take, and roll. These are auto increment and auto reset buttons. So it is lit up for take, and you'll see that will auto increment the take number with each take, meaning I record, I stop, it automatically sets it for take 2. If you don't want that to happen, you can disable it. The button next to it, the scene, if I select that, when I change the scene name or number, the take will reset to 1 when that's lit. And that, again, you can turn that on or off for each of those things, depending on what your show needs. So I'll leave them on for the take. Let's say in my files, I don't need that roll in the name of the file. We're not going to use roll. That's more of a European thing. Let's delete that. So I can go ahead and delete that token. Can I? Delete that token. We'll do it in all of them. Why not? Let's be thorough. So now our files are going to be named the seminar, the scene number, and the take number. Great. So we have to name our tracks, right? Anything that we label in the metadata and in our track names are going to show up. They're going to bake that information into the file itself. That's where the term metadata comes from. We are putting that information into the file itself. That information will also appear on our sound reports. And I'll get to how we generate sound reports and the collection of all of that later on in the seminar. But let's change our track names. Let's go through this tracks panel now. The tracks, so if I double click on any track name, that makes it editable. We're going to go ahead and label all of our tracks. Bear with me. I can just tab through each one. Great. One thing I did not check, I am still sending tone. I do have tracks 15 and 16 as my mix tracks. So I'm going to go ahead and label them as well. And that was just in my Dante routing. And we still have 9 through 14 to play with. We'll play with those later too. So the tracks panel, we'll talk about the buttons in the toolbar. The first thing you see is the green buffer. That is our tracks buffer. As we press record, you'll see it turn red. This means that when it is green and rotating like that, that means that all of the audio that is being input is being written to your computer's memory and ready to be output to a file. It's a little tool for us to diagnose any problems. It's a good indicator that things are working as well as they should. Next to that is the tracks number button. That's the same one that I pressed to enter our number of tracks. Now, there's a plus and minus next to that. That is, if I select a track, I can delete it by pressing minus, or I can add an additional track by pressing plus. The button next to that is a fun one that alternates between horizontal and vertical meters. Those look like stubby little guys right now with how small that window is. But we can expand that, and I'll show that too. The next is pre-roll. So pre-roll is when I press record, it is also going to write however long we have our pre-roll set for. So it defaulted to 5 seconds. It can go as high as 60, I believe. You can type it in or use the slider. Yeah, look at that. You can get a minute of pre-roll. The higher the pre-roll, the more RAM you're going to use. So if you have a less capable machine, dial back your pre-roll. The pre-roll is, you know, it's a save your ass button. You don't want to be the one to press record late and miss something. So this is a way to make sure, even if you did press it late, you still got it. And you can disable pre-roll if it's not needed at all too. And that's if you are RAM constrained, that's a good thing to do.
How far up did it say that the pre-roll goes in seconds?
60 seconds. You have a minute of pre-roll.
Do you have an idea of how much?
Which means if you need a minute of pre-roll, you fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How much RAM a minute of pre-roll use?
Oh, I don't know the equation off the top of my head.
But it would have to do with your bit rate and your sampling frequency.
And your number of tracks.
Sure.
Yeah, it's all of that together.
Is there a way to take it off if you didn't need
Yeah.
it?
Within that pre-roll, there is a
And
button to
like,
turn it off.
You put it on as a safety net,
Mhm.
and then at the end of the roll, you didn't need it, and you can, if you wanted to save the.
No, because then that would it won't erase the audio that it recorded,
Okay.
which is that's what that would be
a cool
doing.
feature to have.
Yeah.
That's
So
an
you can
interesting
have
idea
it.
in general, yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah. And you'd always have it, and if you didn't need it, you would.
That's
refill the
interesting.
space.
You also bring up a good point, and something I should have mentioned at the very top of this. WildTrax is less than a year old at this point, right? It's still a baby. It's in its infancy, and it is not finished, nor will it ever be finished. And I rely heavily on feedback, and whatever features you guys need and want, that's what gets prioritized.
That
I
seems like a good thing to implement. It seems like you could write that.
I love it. I'm going to put it in my notes now.
Split. Right in the file.
You know, that situation comes up like when camera is shooting something and you're like, whoa, you know, they're shooting a rehearsal and you're just finding out about it.
Right.
And then if you've got it, you go, okay, I got it, you know. And then, you know, in that safety area, then later on in the day, you get a command in it, you know, you can just take the one that you want to keep and
Yeah.
eliminate all the other ones.
Yeah, I dig it.
I'm trying to think if there's any device with pre-roll that I know of that offers anything like that. That's kind of a cool idea in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, and you can make it 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you know. And then just
Yeah,
at
if
the
it can
end of the
handle it.
session, reclaim all the space.
Roll folder.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, the pre-roll goes into your RAM,
Right.
so
Yeah, so it'd have to write it to the.
It
pre-roll
writes
folder
it-
and then
it-
continue on your new folder, essentially.
it writes it writes it to the memory of the computer, not the storage,
Right.
and then it dumps it to
Yeah.
a file. I like that idea. Thank you. Okay, next to pre-roll is our meter smoothness. This is essentially decay. I can turn off my tone, right?
People on Comtext will appreciate that.
Yeah. We all off? Okay, let's turn one wireless on. You'll also forgive me, I declined to scan and set frequencies this morning. I did one. That's enough, right? So, okay. Yeah, so... Ooh, I got caught on a magnet. That's fun. All right, so you can see this lav is working correctly. My meter smoothness, this is how you want the decay to go. If you want the decay off and get really bouncy meters, you can. If you want the decay as long as possible, you can have that too. So you can really see where you spike. It's a lot. A little bit is good, but you set it to your preferences. The button next to it is just an easy, quick way to get back to your input matrix. People have found that if they have a patching issue, they wanted to be able to just get in with one click instead of two, so there it is. Now, the button next to it was a new one for the WildTrax 2026. This is what we call our global monitor. And global monitoring allows you, when enabled, to listen back to any of the tracks that are incoming for confidence. Now, you will set in your output matrix where this audio goes. You could have it go from out your headphone jack of your computer, or you could send it back out to a track on your console too. But this is ensuring confidence in your recordings, that the audio sounds good to your computer, to exactly what you're, it's like listening off the playhead, right? That's for monitoring all tracks. We also have in every track, there is our tool buttons here. The A is for arming and disarming those tracks. The C here is for panning. You can pan center, left, and right. Set your output as stereo, and now you can have stereo. And then you have your mute and solo buttons. There is one thing we totally failed to do, and none of you caught me on it. So I'm blaming you. I said we had all of our metadata set, and we had our files set, and we had everything set, right? But we never set timecode. We have janky timecode right now.
It's the utility's fault.
My bad. Let's set some timecode. So in preferences, we have our time window. Here's where you're going to set your frame rate and your time source. You can also manually add in any offset you'd like. If you need to match some delay, you can set that in terms of milliseconds, samples, or by time. So for time source, we have a whole bunch of different options, right? You can just set your time as zeros. You can set it to be the session time. You can set it for time of day. If I set it for time of day, you'll see the time code just jump to the computer's time. What is going to be of most concern to us is setting, is syncing to some external source, whether that is external LTC coming in, MIDI timecode coming in, or straight off of a tentacle network. We need to sync with all of our cameras and all of our other devices. So external LTC, if I had a timecode source coming in on my Dante network, I can set a LTC channel. It will auto-detect for any timecode coming in on that network and automatically assign it that channel, or you can manually assign the channel for peace of mind. I don't have any timecode coming down this right now. What I do have somewhere, there's a tentacle box somewhere here, right here. So the tentacle, any of you guys working on, do you use tentacles? Okay.
I've got to sync with GoPros or something, yeah.
So, all right, I just turned the tentacle on. I'll go to my tentacle app on here and make sure that the time code is set. We were able to, okay, we got it. It's generating time code. So this is generating and transmitting time code. Now, with WildTrax, you don't have to pair it to your computer. WildTrax will automatically just see any tentacle devices that are on and running. If I go to tentacle sync in timecode, and little window pops up, that's where all of your tentacle devices, all your sync ease, your time bar, everything will pop up there, and you can choose what you want to be the master. So automatically, when I hit tentacle sync, it found the only tentacle that's running right now, and since its time code was already set by the phone, it jammed it to WildTrax. The only thing of note is that this tentacle is in 2398 as it's telling me, and I am set for straight 24. So I'm going to go ahead and set WildTrax to 2398 to match. And now we've fixed our screw up, right? So we see the time code in the top window there is matching the tentacle.
Is there a way to put like an alert in there if it sees that you got two different things and it tells you?
There are times it doesn't alert you right now, and it could.
I mean, that would be good just in the event that
Yeah, that it is detecting something different.
a different time.
That is good.
On another camera, somebody jammed didn't have their setting or something.
I'm gonna get you on payroll.
Is the tentacle on Bluetooth?
Yeah, it works over Bluetooth. But it's their own network, so like it doesn't need to be paired. I don't know how that works.
Does the demo not do it then? Should I see your time code then?
You should see it.
I think I do.
You go into preferences.
Yeah,
Preferences,
And then the
time, and then select tentacle as your source.
Scan?
It may not be close enough. It's pretty.
Alert if
I just have my Wi-Fi.
do you see it?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
do- you don't?
But I have Wi-Fi
Oh,
with Bluetooth off, that's why I couldn't.
Oh.
Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so did, yeah. There it goes. Turn on Bluetooth and get it, okay.
There's a little bit of voodoo. I will say that working directly with Tentacle, they have made it very easy to integrate into WildTrax. We are working with several other companies to integrate their timecode directly as well. Hopefully by next month I'll have an announcement there, but we'll see. Okay, our time code is set. We have audio coming in via a transmitter that's batteries are dying. But we are good to record, right? So when I throw it into record, my favorite thing happens and the red glow comes up and shows that we are in record mode. The duration, it started at 5 seconds because that's what our pre-roll was set at. So it started recording the 5 seconds before I hit record. And now we are certainly writing to disk. Now, there's two buttons on the left of this top bar here. There's our stop recording button and our false start button. False start, for those uninitiated, the false start is, I didn't mean to press record. I didn't mean to use this take. So if I press false start, it will reset the take and label this take as a false start take, like it won't use up take one. Now I have it set to, if I press false start, give me an alert. Did you mean to press false start?
Yes, that's big.
And that is a setting that you can turn on or off. If you don't want to have that alert, you don't have to. But we don't want accidental presses on that. That's a big one. I'm actually going to hit cancel. Like, oh no, I didn't mean to hit false start. And now I press stop. It stops the recording. You'll see in the metadata panel, we've now moved on to take 2. And the one after that is take 3. And we have written to those folders that we've assigned. We've written to the files in those folders that we've assigned. So let's go to the sound report panel. Now the sound report panel shows at the top of it, we have our toolbar as always, and then we have tabs for each of the folders that we record to. Now, the sound report panel automatically generates sound reports every time you write a file. You can turn that on or off. I like to leave it on, as I suspect you will too. But this will update the sound reports automatically across all of the folders, and it will do so by folder. So, for example, I'm looking at our poly folder right now. We recorded take 1, and you can see all of the metadata here in take 1. All of our track names, our time code, frame rate, everything is here. Now if I went to mono, that's where we were recording our monophonic files, you're going to see more files because we recorded each track as its own file, yet they all appear here in the sound report. Now this sound report panel, these sound reports are generating a file in that folder. When you go to send that data to post, you will find all of your audio files and your sound report file in that folder. Yeah?
What if you go back later on and change something? Will the next one that writes go back and change it for you?
So in this sound report panel, all of these metadata fields are editable. And you can update any of the metadata, and it will not only change in the sound report, it will bake that info into that file as well. So any metadata changes you make updates the audio file, the sound report file itself, and the info displayed here.
On the ZaxCom, you would write it at the very end. So let's say a scene number got changed. So
Yeah.
the supervisor says, hey, that was, 26 Apple, not 52 Baker. Oh, okay, thanks. Then
Right.
you can go back and or tracks, character names, etc.
Yep, on here you would go right in the sound report panel. So if your scene name was incorrect, you can edit it right here.
And can you put microphones?
Absolutely.
Information in there as well.
Yep. And I'm going to get to that too. Let's go. I'll come back to the toolbar. But yes, all of these are editable, save for the duration. But yeah, you can change the time code manually if you need to. You can circle your takes. You can add notes per file. Anything you need to change can be done right within WildTrax, and that goes for each of the tabs. Now, if I make a change in the poly file, take 1, that's not going to change it in all of the other folders as well. It will just change the file that you are working on.
I have a metadata question for you.
Yeah.
So, on at least on the 6 series sound devices that I use, let's say you do a few takes of a certain scene, then you move on, then you very quickly have to move back.
Sure.
But you have to remember to set the take number.
Yep.
Back up, otherwise it adds an A to the file name that you cannot get rid of.
Yes.
How does this handle that?
Same thing. You would have to manually do that.
Okay. So if it goes back to
If
the
you
same
go back,
scene name,
if you go back to
take
the
number
scene, wouldn't know that it wanted to start at take 9.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes.
But it's not going to overwrite.
It's not going to overwrite.
It'll just add
Yeah.
some kind of identifier.
So our toolbar. So the first button is to manually save a sound report. When I click that, this is to manually export a sound report. The button next to it is our automatic sound report generation, and this is where you would turn that off if you were some sort of masochist, I guess. The info button, this is where you'll put in all of your information that you want displayed on the sound report. and you can add in any number of custom fields as well. You want to credit your boom operator and your utility on the sound reports, you can do that. You can add in notes about your location. You can write the location department sucked today. Any custom info.
For that.
Yeah. Okay. Next to it is a little waveform button. So that displays the waveform because we can also play back. Oh, I'm beach balling. I pressed it twice, that's why. Did it load up? You can see the tiny little waveform since I didn't have anything up in the mix. But you can also play back any of your files, listen to your previous takes here, and you can view the waveform. You can scrub through it as well. You'll see our big green glow when we're in playback mode. And then the button next to that goes to our sound report settings, because sound report, you can view the sound report. You can have it go by files or by takes. It's kind of, I guess it's a technicality here. But the sound report, if you're doing, you can end up having a lot of listings if you go by files, a lot of extra listings if you have multiple files written to the same folder. It can be a lot. So you can view those either by take or by file. You can also choose to include subfolders in that sound report. So say, including sound subfolders. So say you have your project file, project folder. I'm recording a movie, and in this movie, I have all of my daily folders in one folder for the whole movie. So now I can have each of those daily folders write its own sound report. So dailies gets the info that they need, post gets the info that they need, this was what was shot today. But it can also be generating the entire sound report for the whole movie as well.
Like a library.
Exactly. So you can choose how you want that arranged in those reports too. On the subject of notes, one thing I didn't mention in the metadata panel, actually I didn't go through the toolbar in the metadata panel. Toolbar in the metadata panel only has 3 buttons. I'll start with the one on the right. That is just to view it vertically or horizontally, your split. Now the button next to it is our note bank. You can have quick notes. So if you want that location sucks quick note, you can add it here. You can add in, cough or airplane, and just have a bank of notes to select through quickly. And then the button next to that, the first button, is our marker button, where if you worked with Thomas Cassetta, you'll know the marker button well. So what the marker does is it automatically drops in the time code, and so that I can write in a note here and drop in notes as they happen. This is valuable for a lot of reasons. What Thomas does is he uses these notes. These notes, again, they're baked into the metadata of this file. These create markers in Pro Tools. So he's recording a 3-hour podcast. When he goes to edit those files in post, he doesn't have time to listen to a 3-hour podcast and figure out where the problems are. So he just goes to each marker and he knows what he needs to edit. Next marker, cough. Next marker, airplane. This is extremely valuable.
So you lay it in on the fly?
Exactly.
What's happening?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And that's a lot for us to handle, right? That could be a lot as a sound mixer. You're juggling 50 things in your head. Um, when I get to talking about our connected devices, this is also something that can be passed off to a script supervisor or somebody else who can be working on those notes on their iPhone or iPad while the sound mixer is still concentrating on what's
Could you
most
lay
important.
down the marker and then label it later?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Is there a limit to?
No limit.
I
And
think Pro Tools has a 999.
oh, really?
Or at least prior to 2022 that tried it back then, but I don't know if they've updated that.
I'm sure if you pay more.
I actually meant.
Subscription.
Yeah.
I actually meant, is there a limit to the number of
Oh, yeah,
letters
is
and
there-
digits
is
you
there
can
a
type in the
character
note?
field?
Oh, no.
Character limit. That's what I meant.
No. Not that I'm aware of.
That's nice.
There might be one governed by the IXML rules, but I don't think.
I don't know. Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Oh, it's more than sound devices.
Okay, that's our metadata. So let's get into some other fun stuff as well. We know how to record, we know how to label everything. So, but we haven't started juggling the interface and deciding what's important to us. Like once I set my files, I don't really ever need to look at that. Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask a question
Yeah.
before you move on. What is the effect when you're rolling of arming and disarming tracks?
It will not let you.
Okay.
It will not let you arm a track. That's like the holy grail of recording. Everybody wants to be able to add a track in the middle of recording. You cannot.
Are you able to do, like on Boom Recorder, say for instance, only tracks 1 through 4 are armed,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to arm 5 through 8. On Boom Recorder, you can arm 5 through 8. They obviously aren't recording on the current take, but then if you just hit record
Sure.
and start a new take, then now 5 through 8 are armed.
Pre-arm them, kind of.
Yes. Is that the same? Is that the same here?
It's not. It's not. So for example, let's do it. Let's look. So I'm gonna disarm tracks 9 through 12. We're gonna put it into record, right? As I go to click here, I cannot arm the tracks until I'm out of record mode.
Okay, and same with disarming?
Same with disarming. I cannot disarm.
But you can mute mid-record?
No, the mute and solo is for playback. That's for listening. Yeah.
not-
You would do, you would, it's not an option on here. If there's a reason to do it on here, basically, I just know the way I would work, so I don't know if everybody would work this way. But if I'm going to mute something, I'm doing it on the console. Because the track, I don't want tracks to be bouncing around in post and them to lose track of where the audio is supposed to be. I'm just going to mute it on the console if I don't want somebody listening, an actor goes off screen or whatever.
While we're there, is it possible to make the record red flash?
Anything's possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a nice thing to have.
Yeah.
It draws your attention.
Sure.
I remember we talked about like a pulsing record.
Yeah, in my dreams, the red glow is gonna Siri pulse.
Like,
Oh,
like
my,
maybe on the edges, just
Yeah.
around the screen or something.
Question. Does hitting the record button split files?
yes, and hitting the record button a second time will split files. That is also a preference in general. Record button advances take.
Got it. And keep recording.
What'd you do, Siri?
And then if you hit 2 gigs on a file, does it auto split?
Ooh, where did I miss that? So in Files, I skipped this button. Here we go. I did all the buttons except for this button. So this button is important because this is a big differentiator between WildTrax and any other recorder that I'm aware of, and that's our file limits. So 2 gig was a limitation of the BWF broadcast wave file wrapper. We don't use that wrapper per se. We use the modern version of it, which is called RF64. RF64 does not have that limit. Now, you can set a limit of 2 gigs per file if you want, and it will automatically split if you're on a long-running reality show, and those files, you want to have them split every 2 gigabytes, you can. You can also choose when those splits happen. You can split by file size. So I have it at 2 gigs, but if you wanted to make it less than that or more than that, you can do that as well. Or you can have it split by duration. I want it to split every hour. So every hour I get a file that is 1 hour long. Or you can have some combination of the two, or not have any file splits at all. If you're working on a reality show, you're going to get some big files. But we're not limited to the 2 gig limit any longer, unless we want to be. So our interface here, we've got our 3 panels up, but I don't really need 3 panels all the time. If I go to View at the top here, I can choose how many panels I want to see at once. If I only need to see 2 panels, I want to see my metadata panel and my tracks, I can split it like that. And I can also drag in between and resize everything. You'll notice as I resize the tracks, the meters change along with it as well. I can resize within the metadata panel itself too. I can also just hide the next if I don't even want to see the next. I can hide it completely or view it. You can view 4 panels. I don't need to see the tracks panel 4 times, but maybe you do. And you can rearrange using the panel switcher. You can choose any panel that you want up. Resize independently as well. So what I like to do is I like to use our spectrum analyzer down here. Did this die? Of course it did. I'm going to bat it up as I talk. So the spectrum analyzer has a drop-down menu on the bottom to choose what channel you're viewing, and you can use this as a real-time analyzer, an RTA, and view your audio so that you can EQ non-destructively. For example, I always used it to EQ out wind and know that I wasn't hitting any dialogue. So I'm not giving post anything. I'm not taking away any info from post that they need, but I'm also not recording anything that they don't need. So you can see here I have Lav1. You can see the visuals coming in. You can have multiple instances of the spectrum analyzer running as well if you want to compare 2 different channels. You can have that if you'd like. You can also pop out any of these windows. If you have more than one display, you can go to the window menu and pop out, let's pop out a spectrum analyzer, and I can drag this window to an extra display. One of our friends, Charlie Mead, has a neat little like 5-inch display on his cart that he uses just for his spectrum analyzer. It's adorable. And you can do that with any window as well. If you are using, if you have an iPad, you can also use the iPad's sidecar ability and use that as an extra monitor and just drag a window onto the iPad too. Say for some reason you are an insane person and you don't love the color Kelly green as much as I do. You can go in and change the color, the accent color of everything.
Except for the logo.
Except for the logo. Damn right.
The illusion of
there's a lot of purple people. Shout out to Ed Moskowitz. So if you wanted to make everything purple, you can. But if you choose anything besides green, you're wrong.
It's nice that you made an option for the Lauren Banjos of the world.
That exactly.
If you color code, characters, could you make their...
We don't have that ability yet. That is on the roadmap to not only color code each of the tracks, but I also envision being able to drop in a picture. Yeah. Yeah, especially when we get into like large cast reality. It becomes tough to keep track of all those names, especially when everybody's named Aiden, Braden, Jaden. Okay, so lastly in here, let me talk about the account in this session. So a WildTrax subscription, there are 3 different ways to pay for WildTrax, right? There is a monthly subscription, an annual subscription, or a lifetime license for the version. The subscriptions are priced mostly based off of how many tracks you want to record. The basic tier records up to 8 tracks. Essential tier is 32 tracks, and the Pro tier is 512 tracks. You can get those monthly or annually, and the lifetime license is the Pro version. It unlocks everything, and that is just for WildTrax 2026. So it will give you all of the upgrades and bug fixes for WildTrax 2026 as we update them. It will not entitle you to WildTrax 27 when that comes out, but you'll have WildTrax 26 for life. A benefit of the subscription over the lifetime license is also the number of devices that can run WildTrax at a time. You can install WildTrax on any number of computers and run it on up to 3 of them simultaneously on one account, one subscription. So you don't need to buy a separate license for your main computer and your backup computer and your backup and your side piece and all that. You can have it on all of them and then use the account to manage which ones are active and add and remove them as needed. You can also manage your subscription from here. So if you are on a monthly plan and you're working on a commercial this month and you need 4 tracks, you can use the basic tier. And if next month you're using 20-something tracks, you can change it and upgrade it. Or if next month you don't have any work at all, you can cancel and not pay for it when you're not using it, which is very convenient. And that can all be done from the account panel. Now the session panel is very new. Session is where we connect to our iOS devices. Last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever Apple let us into the store, we introduced a program called WildTrax A2 for iPad OS and iOS. It connects over Wi-Fi. If I'm still on the Wi-Fi here, I was having Wi-Fi problems. But when you load up WildTrax A2, start scanning now. And again, I'm not on the Wi-Fi. Let me see if I can get on the Wi-Fi. I was using my hotspot instead. Let's see if that works. So, okay, now I came up here, and you'll see that my iPad is connected. So, my iPad is now displaying everything that WildTrax is displaying itself as well. This is our remote companion. So the idea is anything that you can do in WildTrax itself, you can do in the A2 app. You can view your meters, you can change your metadata, you can remote record, remote stop, all from here as well. And everything is customizable from the meters, put in horizontal or vertical mode. You can have, with the layout button, you can decide which toolbars are visible. If you don't want to show the arm, pan, mute, and solo buttons, you don't have to. You can here. This is also customizable as far as permissions. So the WildTrax user can grant people access to it. They can grant people read or write access. So if you want to give a script supervisor access to view it, but not to be able to write and change your metadata, they can have this on their device and see that, you know, your scene and take are correct and you match up. Or your utility or A2 can help to label all of your tracks for you, whatever you want to grant them permission to do. This works for iPhone and iPad, and that's a free download for everybody. You can, as long as you're on the Wi-Fi network, you can. As soon as I go into record, you'll see it sent me right into record here. It is astonishing to me how instant it is. So, for example, here I'll go to change the track name. You can see I'm working on it. As I change it on here and I hit done, it changes it instantly. If I'm changing the project name, it will change it as I type. So this is how you can have other people taking notes alongside you. The notes will appear as they type it. It'll come up on your metadata too. You might be fighting for space if you're typing at the same time, but you'll see each other's work on those screens. This is, I got to go back to calling that Lav 1 or my OCD will go into overdrive. So this is a very powerful tool, and yeah, gives you the ability to walk away, which is nice. So the only thing left we haven't really talked about is output, and two of the more fun panels. I'm going to go back to a two-panel view so we can get embiggened. And I'm going to go to my sample pad. Well, let's go to the output matrix. So we set output matrix. So here on the output matrix, right now I'm sending all of these tracks to these channels so that we can listen to it. And this is where you would set all of your tracks, follow the vertical bar, and your output from your output device on the x-axis. But I want to go to my sample pad, which is totally empty right now. Sample pad is, I think the best way to describe it is to just show it. This is where you can drag in anything for playback. If you're familiar with like an instant replay or a shortcut device or even like a Rode podcaster, this is the reggae horn button, right? That's what we all want it for. So I have some sounds here in this folder, including a reggae horn. So I can drag and drop any wave files here, and it comes up as a sample here. There we go. I got a couple. That's fun. All right. So in this, we're going to set our outputs. If I right-click on, that was it. If I right-click on a sample pad, it brings up a menu. I can change the name. I can delete it. I can change the colors of each pad. And we can choose, if I wanted to change the file, we can. And we can choose the routing here. I'm going to do, let's keep it auto. And let's see. I have it set, we had it going to our 9 and 10. I believe I have a speaker up. There you go, there's the reggae horn. But that's not quite the reggae horn because it's set for a latched mode. So if I change my mode, my trigger mode, latched means I press the button and it plays the sound the whole way through. Momentary is it plays the sound as I'm holding down the button. So that's the reggae horn. So that's all good and fun, especially if you're using podcasts. You can have, silly sounds.
This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
But for narrative stuff, you can also have, say, one end of a phone call pre-recorded, and you can play it back as you're recording the other end of the phone call. These are also, these are routed. You see it going to a track. So this is playback while recording too. So I'm sending this playback to tracks to record so that everything is synced together. I might get those armed again. The toolbar here is just to send it into edit mode, basically quick delete, and add files manually besides drag and drop. The other output panel we have besides the sample pad is the playlist panel. Playlist panel is essentially, if you're familiar with QLab, that's probably the best analogy for it. But this is to set a whole bunch of sounds or songs or samples in a row and trigger them. So I have a couple of songs here. You can see how you can route them by file. So if you have them going to different speakers or different rooms or whatever, you can output it to different places. And it will play these in a row. I like my 90s dance music. Fight me. And again, you can change the colors of them, change the names, customize it and make it fun. But the idea is that you don't have to leave WildTrax to do any playback. You can play back all of the files that you have recorded yourself right from the sound report panel. You can record, you can play back your reggae horn and other samples or songs without having to leave the program.
Doug, I have a question about the output matrix for the sample pad
Sure.
playlist. It looks like you've got room for more than stereo output. I don't know if it's already implemented or if it could be put on the roadmap to allow for multi-channel output playback beyond stereo.
It is implemented.
It is already. Okay.
It is. So if you dragged in a file that you recorded within WildTrax, this file itself only is stereo. It only has 2 tracks. But if you dragged in a file, it would show all of the tracks. And then you can assign the outputs there too.
I've had a couple of situations where I've wanted to do multi-channel playback. I've had to use Pro Tools or QLab to do multiple sources in the same playback track, coming from multiple places in a space.
Yeah.
Being able to do that through WildTrax is very helpful.
Yeah, that's cool. I worked on a reality show called Whodunit, which was a great show to work on, one of my favorites to work on, not a good show to watch. But it was took place in a mansion, and it was like it was a typical like Clue, figure out who the killer is. But we had to, I had my whole recording console. We also had a playback console because I needed to be able to route sound effects to different rooms. So people needed to hear the sound of a chandelier crash, but only on this side of the mansion, and we didn't want certain people to hear it, so I could route it to speakers in every room. Now I can do that here without having to use a console separately. Any other questions that might benefit the group?
Are there any panels we haven't looked at?
Are there any panels we haven't looked at? Toolkit. Toolkit. So Toolkit is new for WildTrax 26. I'm just going to go ahead and call a spade here because you're probably all familiar with a Sound Devices program called Wave Agent. I believe Wave Agent has not been updated since 2013 and does not work with RF64 files, so it doesn't work with anything more than 32 tracks. And people have long requested from the moment we put out WildTrax, well, how do I edit other files? How do I split up my polyphonic files? How do I combine my mono if I can't use Wave Agent anymore? So we built all of it right into WildTrax. And here's where you will drag and drop. You can drag a file from any recorder, any WAV file, so not your MARF files from Zaxcom, but the WAV files that it exports. You can take any WAV file and drag it into this panel, and it will look exactly like the sound report panel, meaning that all of the metadata fields are now editable. So if you want to change any track names from a Sound Devices recorded file, you can. You will also use this to split up polyphonic files into monophonic, or combine monophonic files into one poly file. That example of the reality show in the Dominican that I gave you where they were using Premiere, they needed to split up their 64-track files into 32 tracks. So here's where they did it for them, for the tracks that they had already recorded. when they figured out this issue. But this panel is totally drag and drop. We are also working on adding many, many more tools. If there are any tools specifically that you can think of that you might find helpful, let me know. This is something we are actively working on. I have a list of it's over 40 something tools to add to it right now, that after the seminar is over and I can show a beta of. But this is another thing that like we're just actively working on. It's and even as it is, it's a very valuable space for working on your already recorded files. That is the last panel of the 10 on here. I think that'll about do it. If there's no other questions, I am gonna, once we stop the record for the YouTube, I am gonna invite you all up, come play with it, mess around, check out the cool little DM3, and we'll stick around and just conversate. Cool?
I have a feature request.
Please.
I don't see it on the input matrix.
Yes.
I use Boom Recorder a lot. It annoys me. There's no check mark to lock the inputs because you can double route to tracks. So just a check mark that locks the input matrix. Because if you accidentally click,
yeah,
you can do multiple tracks to one file.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd
Okay.
be a feature I would love to see.
I like that too. Yes, there's a benefit to routing multiple inputs to a track if you want that. But I agree with you, locking, the choice to lock it is a good idea.
Especially for music.
Yeah. If there is any features that you think of later tonight when you wake up at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat, like, I should have told him this. The best way to get it out there is our WildTrax users group, Facebook group. We have a long roadmap of features to add for WildTrax 2026 and for the months and years and decades to come. But the best way to get the feature that you're thinking of out there sooner is to make it public, because we'll prioritize the ones that people say, yeah, I need that too. Want to affect the most people we can and help the most people we can. So I recommend joining that group if you have not already.
I have a question about metadata. While you are recording,
Yes.
if you rename a track name,
Yes.
does it take immediate effect
Yes.
on the current take? Okay.
Yes. And it will hold that for the subsequent takes as well.
And you can execute that renaming either
in the
front
tracks.
panel or in the... Okay.
In the tracks panel or in the input matrix.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you all. I appreciate you coming out this morning. I hope this was valuable for you. We will put out more feature updates. We will put out more educational content. I want to really drive home the fact that we are building this based off of feedback. So what is important to you is what is important to the program and the future of it. So please keep yelling at me, keep yelling at the cloud, and we'll make it happen. So thank you again. Appreciate you all.